Hey, what's up, everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you with another video. All right, I had to get out of there, man. I had to get out of that room. I don't even know why. Today's just one of them days. It's like, yo, I know it's Sunday, and I got to get back here by 4:30. But I did not want to sit in that room today. So I'm getting out, man. Hopefully, I'll get back here on time. I used to be able to do this all the time. It's early enough. It ain't. But what, 12:50 right now? So I got time to do whatever I want to do and get back for the most part. But sometimes, man, honestly, you got to force yourself to get out. And I got so accustomed this year to not moving around Sundays. When I first got over here, I would be out, come back, be on time, leave around this time, go to Hollywood, come back, do all the stuff. It wasn't nothing keeping me from doing all the stuff. Now it's like, it's the opposite. It's like I gotta force myself to leave. And I want to change that right now. I want to start that process today. So, I'll have to apologize to my uncle if I ain't home on time. But today, one of them days, like, man, I could not. There was no way I was gonna stay in the house today. I felt that as soon as I got out of bed. I was like, nah, that's not happening. So, yeah, the room is so far so good. I think the only problem is it's right next to the laundry room. So, and there's no screen on the window. There's no screen on the window. And I don't think this management group closes the laundry room at all. I think the laundry room stays open all night. So, it gets a little strange, to be honest with you. Some of the noises that I hear throughout the night. Wondering if I'm snoring so loud others can hear me. Who knows? But the bed is right next to the window. And you know me, I don't keep my window closed for nothing. I don't care what's going on. The window's open. And you could climb in if you want to. Like, that's how bad that thing is secure. You can literally climb through the window. It opens all the way. I mean, it's enough to fit two bodies through there. It's the most insecure room I've ever seen in this building. But the good thing is they got a camera literally right underneath the window pointing at the laundry room, so anybody that walks toward the room, you would see it. If they tried to climb through the window, you know who did it. So it is what it is. But yeah, just a very awkward room. I've never had this room before. Hope to never have it again. This is the second week in a row where I'm like, the second cycle rather in a row where I'm like, I'm not really in love with the room. But the shower's better. That's what I'm happy about. The lighting is terrible. That's another thing. The lighting is terrible for art and stuff like that. I don't know how much art I'm gonna be able to get done in this room at all. But maybe I'll just go 3 weeks without doing art. I don't know. But that was another reason why I didn't want to stay in today. Because even in the daytime, it's gonna be kind of hard to get art done in this room. So I got time to do art for my playlist, one of the playlists that I've done recently. But I want to air more than anything else. I want to exercise and walk more than anything else. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm not sure if I'm going to go all the way to Hollywood or not, if I'm going to stay local, maybe go to Traders, because I do have to get some more almonds and stuff like that. But I'm not really sure if I want to stay in this area or head to Hollywood and come back. I'm not sure. But I'm out. We'll figure it out. I'm winging it just like I used to. But kind of wish Bible study wasn't today so I can go wherever I want to go. But that's just not how this day planned out. So, yeah, birthday's on Tuesday. I got a meeting with a social worker on Wednesday, which I think is useless. She ain't offering nothing. I ain't got nothing from them. I don't want nothing from them. They don't offer anything. I don't know why I'm going back to meet up with her. I honestly don't. Last time I sat down with that lady, there was literally nothing happening there. She asked me some questions. I answered them. And she said, all right, well, let's set up another meeting. I'm like, why? Why am I coming down here? But that's a whole nother story, man. I'll be there either way. And just deal with it, I guess. So that's something that'll get me out the house on Wednesday. But yeah, man, just happy to be out. I really wanted to make a video on something, but I wasn't really sure what was on my mind. Given that right now as I'm walking, ain't much I'm on my mind as it pertains to the stuff that I was thinking about when I wanted to make the video. I don't know what it was, but that was what was itching on me this morning, as I saw myself walking down the street making some type of video. And you know, if anything, I just need more exercise, man. I felt myself getting more and more heavy, less and less in shape, less and less exercise. Not necessarily from morning to night, because y'all know my same routine is the same, but I just feel myself getting heavier, hefty. You know, it's just not. It's not something that happens when you're walking as much as I was walking for the last 3 years. It's just something I picked up over the last 6 months, and that's not how I want to be. My default mode is to stay in, homebody, isolated. That's what's most comfortable for me. That's been comfortable for me since I was a teenager, so it's not hard to fall back into that. But I don't like what comes of that at all. As you guys know, I don't like what becomes of me when I do that for too long. But I fell right back into it for the most part. The good thing is in this situation is it makes me leave the house at the very least every 3 weeks. I got to do the routine that gets me out of it, which is actually one of the reasons why I'm still in this situation, is because I know that is actually very, very necessary for me. Because if I'm not forced out of the house, there will be times where I will stay in it for very long periods of time. You know what I mean? It really will be that way for me. So this is one of the times where it's like, all right, I'm not feeling bad about anything. I'm not depressed about anything. I'm not happy with what comes in me for staying in the house. So what the hell am I doing here? Let me get out. And that's kind of where we at today. So yeah, man, just getting out. I see so much online about what I was watching a few days ago, which was the I guess you'd call it debate between Candace Owens and this Andrew dude. I don't know his get down. This Andrew guy I had never heard of before this situation, but I guess it was said that he or the people behind him spent $300,000 dollars for this debate. And he got up there and he wasn't fully prepared, to be honest with you. He didn't know all the material that he needed to know. And I asked myself, you know, not even asking me, I guess. On this camera, I asked those who are behind him, why'd you send that man out there not prepared? And it's even a broader conversation about a lot of these people who are doing a lot of stuff that maybe I don't agree with. I call them evil, demonic, whatever. Just entities of white supremacy and Zionism that are essentially putting out all this trauma into the world and, you know, stirring people against one another and all this different stuff. This is yet another one of those, right? Let's just be honest. This Charlie Kirk thing is theirs too. We know that. But, like, are you guys fine with the results of what comes with the idea that you don't owe any of us the respect and dignity of being prepared when coming against us? I guess is the question I want to ask all of you. Because they rarely come prepared as they need to, as if they're going against somebody formidable. It's because they don't respect their opponent. Do they come unprepared? And that's just an ideology difference between the way I was raised and the ways a lot of people that I know of was raised. It's like just because we don't necessarily respect our opponent doesn't mean that we don't come correct, because in doing so, coming prepared allows for us to display our best regardless of the opponent. And if for some reason the opponent comes more prepared than we're prepared for, we're still in a position to defeat the opponent. They always present themselves, and I say always, I mean, I'm studying this on multiple fronts. I'm seeing this pattern on multiple fronts. It's like they come into the situation saying, because we don't respect the Goyim, we don't have to cover our tracks with the Goyim. We don't have to come well studied in regards to the Goyim and what we're going up against in regards to the Goyim. because we don't believe they could do anything about what we're doing, we don't actually do our best to be prepared against the going. It's like they're forever underestimating and or not worrying about the consequences of failing as it pertains to the going. And I just think that it's left them with what, in my mind, would be some undesirable consequences that come with that. And this is yet another of many examples that I'm seeing. Y'all be lying, but your lies don't come together. They don't tie to, both ends of the lie don't even tie together, so you end up getting exposed as liars. Or whatever it is that propaganda is, looks fake. Whatever it is you're saying, you know, we should believe is not believable a good portion of the time. And I just wonder, is that the desired result? Is that what comes with that? Is that what you want? Maybe the idea is to confuse as a means of wearing people down. Maybe you be so worn out or so tired that you be frustrated and just don't really care about their lives. Don't really care about the fact that they're not coming prepared against you. Maybe that's the point. Is to just wear down the opponent with things that will otherwise confuse and make the opponent go, I'm so frustrated with these people. They don't respect me. It's like maybe that's the desired result. But then it becomes a situation where I wonder, is this the fat and happy scenario that I often talk about, where somebody who's always fat and happy, or somebody who has a silver spoon, somebody who's never been prepared for battle, somebody who's never had to watch their back, somebody who's never had to, aren't necessarily conditioned for that. And so I question whether or not this is that, in a way, where they never really been held accountable for nothing. Their most basic of propaganda has never not really worked. They've never been in a world where these are the things that they have to really do, because they're being questioned so hard, you know what I mean? Because the narratives that they've benefited from so much have never been questioned so much. So it's like they're not really good at covering their backside because they never really had to. And I think that may be what at least we're looking at here. And here we are looking at a people who've been fat and happy and who've never been held accountable. So when being held accountable, they don't really come as prepared as someone who's maybe conditioned for that sort of thing. But I'm telling you, everything that they're trying to do is fail. It has so many holes in it. There's so many different things that you can just do a simple deep dive on a certain area and see where the holes are. And it's become clear to me that they aren't often prepared when coming against people at all. And for people who are so powerful, who have access to all of the books, all the knowledge, who have the access to higher learning, have the resources and the reach from which to get all information. They got surveillance on all of us, apparently, with what it is they control. I don't know where the excuse is for them coming so unprepared in so many different areas, other than that this is the desired result. That they want what comes with people saying they didn't come prepared. They want what comes with people saying they didn't win that battle. They didn't win that debate. What they said is lies, and we can clearly see their lies. Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want us to look at them as liars. I don't know. But one of the reasons why they're losing the PR war as bad as they are is because they don't cover their backsides a good portion of the time. They allow themselves to be seen for what it is that they are, despite their rhetoric displaying a certain desire for you to believe otherwise, a certain demand even that you believe otherwise, when they don't do a great enough job of selling what they're trying to sell. So I don't know. I mean, it's a certain seriousness that they forego in their reputation when they allow for that to be the case. And that, I think, then turns into something that they often complain about, which is that they're not respected, or that people hate them, or that people are after them, or that, you know, it's like it's a certain environment for which they complain about is hatred coming toward them, that not only do they will toward them, but also by way of how they operate in circumstances, they allow to be the case as well. So it's like, I don't know, man. I just think at the end of the day, and I've said this very recently, I wonder if they're prepared to fight. You know, like, and I'm not talking about the soldiers that represent them. I'm talking about the people themselves who are pushing a lot of this. Are they ready for what comes of people understanding them fully? Because the environment they're in, a good portion of people don't understand them at all. They say they don't hate them accordingly. And that sounds very strange when you word it, but that's exactly what it is. To understand them is to hate them, basically. I mean, it ain't much deeper than that. If you understand them, then you know their intention is to destroy damn near everybody named them. And to manipulate, lie, and cheat, and do the work of the devil. All of the detestable things. Things that leave us all lost, confused, and destroyed in the end. It's not anything to like. When you fully understand them, there ain't nothing there for you on the other end of them to love or appreciate at all. And it's just a strange context that you learn when you learn about these people and how they operate. It's a very unique context that a lot of us don't even know exists. But it's the truth. When you find out that a certain type of people only care to destroy you, hurt others, laugh at you at your pain, implement destruction upon your people, and then cry like they're the victims in the process, stir up, wars against you and people that you would otherwise be at odds with if not for the presence of them, stirring things up and making things worse. If you learn about this and you understand this and you know it ain't nothing to like, it's like saying you like cancer, or saying you like bacteria, saying you like bumping your toe against something steel. Like, it's nothing to like. They don't allow themselves to be loved. They don't welcome love at all in their behavior. We talked about these people ad nauseum for 3 years straight, since the start of the genocide that they perpetuated. Hell, since before that, when we didn't really know what we were looking at, but we knew something was off, we alluded to the idea of something like this being possible. All of that is not new conversation on this channel, but as I grow to understand even further and time is passing, I just realize that these people don't leave themselves no room but to be attacked. I mean, that's really all they leave themselves room for. They're attacking everybody else. They're waging war against everybody. They're using psychological warfare to wear people down and to implement trauma in every direction, every turn. They've done horrible things to people. They relish in the idea of people suffering. They taunt people who are ill of whatever the issues are. I mean, like I said, they don't leave themselves no room to be liked on no level, or loved on no level. And the more you understand about these people, the more you understand is exactly what it is. They're behind so much of the trauma in this world. So much. And there's this story going around of this individual in the UK, this black guy who was recently found unalived. No information has been told as to what ultimately succumbed to But you would imagine he self-harmed because it was said that he was a professor at a distinguished college, I believe it was Cambridge or something like that. And what this brother did, essentially, according to those who attacked his name, was plagiarize himself. I never really got to the bottom of what it is that was said, or what it is that he was said to have done in that regard, but I guess he engaged in some type of plagiarism. And as a result, he was attacked by multiple news outlets repeatedly. From what I understand, over 188 news articles were written on this guy in a matter of a very short amount of time, just blasting him as a fraud, taunting him and whatever. And from what I understand, he was like, he had some mental issues. He was autistic or something like that. I'm not really certain, but from what I understand, he wasn't healthy mentally to begin with. And they attached themselves to this man on multiple publications and hounded him continuously. And those who followed the story essentially were describing what looked like a verbal lynching, which is something I never heard of. At the end of the day, if you're going to harm yourself, you're going to harm yourself. But that somebody would put so much psychological damage upon you that you would just ultimately succumb. It was said that they thought it was the intention of these publications and those who were writing this story to have this outcome. And so I hadn't heard of the story until after the man passed. I don't know still the details, as I already mentioned. But when I look at what's happening there, I said multiple publications repeatedly hounding the man. Publications. Yeah, we know what that is. Zionism. That's a Zionist thing. They did that. That's one of their bodies, y'all. They killed that man, in my opinion. I don't know that they actually had him murdered or if he killed himself. I don't know. But like, as far as what it is that's behind all of this, yeah, that's a Zionist psychological operation right there. That's what that is. It's the same thing that they do in regards to all of their narratives. They use multiple publications repeatedly, as we talked about many times. We've seen them do this a million times. We pointed out every time. They did it with Kyrie Irving. That's when I first started noticing it. Well, they use every publication they control to bash somebody for a period of time. They did it with Kanye West repeatedly. They use all, because they own all the media outlets, and most of the paid publications out there are getting their funding from them. When it's time for them to push one of their agendas, they can use all of those media outlets at once to push said agenda. And then you look behind the situation, you find out the person that initially kicked this thing off was a Zionist Jew. Surprise! Whoever it was that sent the first publication on this man, calling him a plagiarist or whatever the word would be, turns out it was somebody who's Zionist. And then you see all of the different. I looked on the New York Post page on Facebook. It popped up in my news feed. And look in the comment section, and you see the same dopes, the same type of dopey, repeated, just taunting of the man after he died. He don't have to pay for his funeral because what he plagiarized could pay for the funeral. It's like, okay, this is them. This is they hop on stuff like this, like freaking piranhas or ants or something like that, with these publications and with these accounts. And they push a certain intention to bring about an environment for which something will appear to be agreed upon, or something will appear to be just natural consensus agreement. And they will use the same words, they'll use the same phrases over and over again to create a certain environment for a time that will make you think that this is what everybody's thinking. When I looked in the publication, if you look on the comment section of most common news outlets, Facebook specifically, probably Twitter as well, I don't go in there as much, but Facebook specifically, you're going to see just a certain callousness toward really anybody who's what I would consider to be a person who is either disenfranchised, or people who are of color, or people who are poor, or people who are asking for appreciation or consideration in regards to their plight or whatever. Whatever the situation is, if it has to do with making people feel better, they're going to make people feel worse. If it has to do with making sure people get what they need, they're going to have a consensus agreement about those bots and those comments that are going to make it look as if the world hates those people, the world's making fun of those people, and that everybody's cynical about their concern. This is consistent. And when it comes to this man, and every comment, literally almost every comment I saw had that type of energy attached to making fun of the fact that he is no longer with us after what was considered to be a witch hunt against him. That witch hunt continued, which told me that it was an agenda. That he was a subject of that agenda, but he was not the purpose of the agenda. That they still have plans for the story. It was about us watching him and watching them and feeling whatever way we're going to feel about the thing that we're seeing there. And this brings me back to every other psychological operation that they engage in, every other random, or what would seem to be random act of discouragement, or of taunting, and or trauma, implementation of trauma. Everything that they control is supposed to strum up the heartstrings of somebody paying attention, and ultimately get them up in arms irrationally, whether it drives you to violence, drives you to civil unrest in some way, drives you to quit your job and radicalize. It's supposed to drive you one way or another to be somebody who is not balanced anymore. And if they do this enough times, in enough spaces, maybe they can strum up a little bit of that in everybody they find. No matter what it is you're passionate about, no matter what it is that makes you feel emotionally attached to it, no matter what the story or what the cause, if you're a human being, you have a cause, and in that cause is a Zionist attached itself to it, telling you that it doesn't matter, telling you that you're stupid for feeling that way, and ultimately making you feel like it's hopeless feeling anything in regards to that subject. It is hopeless that any improvement will come to what it is that you're seeing, that you're in a long-lasting hell as it pertains to that for what it is you care for. This is what they're doing in so many different areas, and I'm recognizing all of it. Everywhere they're doing it, I'm clocking it in my mental Rolodex. I'm seeing you, Zionists, do this all over the place. And so when I saw what was going on with this individual in the UK, I was like, that's the same shit they're doing everywhere else. I see what's going on with our service members on that ship outside of the Strait of Hormuz. They could easily bring them people home. They know damn well they ain't got no control over that Strait of Hormuz. They see an opportunity to implement yet another one of these. You treat the soldiers wrong, it's going to be a certain amount of people who are going to be upset about that. See what's going on in Mississippi. All these black people getting hung. Same damn thing. There are going to be people who are going to see that. People look like me, who feel like me. They're going to be up in arms about that. They're going to be radicalized against that. Same stuff. You look at what's going on with ICE and how they're treating these people, entirely inhumane, ridiculously inhumane. That's another one of them situations. It's going to strum up some heartstrings, make you feel a certain way. You're going to feel hopeless. You're going to want to be violent if you take it that far. You're going to care about what you see, and you're going to feel as hopeless in regards to what you're seeing. This is what they're doing every damn where. And no matter where they are doing these things, they're always using something they control in the media to strum about a certain environment for which you will feel a certain way, feel challenged in regards to what it is you care about. And I see that individual that lost his life in Mississippi very recently, the brother. And then to see these white kids up there, and they essentially saying we loved him, but we held his phone from his mama. That whole situation. That's another one of those. Who are they using? One of their media people. Officer Tatum. That's how you know it's them, because they always got one of their people in there. Strumming this shit up. Taking the side of somebody that doesn't look like him. Strumming people against one another for the reasons of race, reasons of class, sexual orientation, anything you may have a heart for. Children, universal health care, his situation with Luigi and how they treating his situation. All of it. You're going to have a heart for this. You're going to feel a way about it. They're going to create the environment for which it looks like you're being taunted for those feelings, and or you have no hope in seeing the change you need to see in regards to those subjects. This is very, very consistent behavior amongst many different subjects, all tying back to these same individuals. And I'm telling you, they don't cover their tracks very well. That's why a little brain like mine can see what the hell they're doing, because they allow themselves to be visible just like every other psychopath. Pretending like he don't want to be caught, but he needs his, what do you call that? You need his credit for what it is that he did. You want to leave little breadcrumbs or hints that he did it. Telling himself that these people are too stupid to notice, but you don't think they're too stupid to notice. You want to be noticed. You just ain't ready to admit to yourself that you want to be caught. It's like every other psychopath out here. I'm telling everybody who will listen to me. This is what you look for. They're going to keep doing this shit. And when you see it, you'll know it's them. Because they're going to always use some publications. They're going to always use some influencers. They're always going to use the news that they control, anything they own. If it's broadcast to you, they're going to use it. Comment sections, compromised. They're compromised. You might find a few legitimate individuals in them comment sections who will piggyback off of that overall collective thought, because a lot of people can't think for themselves, but it's not as many people who agree with that stuff as they want you to feel that they do. That is a controlled environment meant to make you feel some kind of way. Make you feel hopeless. Make you feel like the only way you can go is the wrong way. Whatever that looks like. And so I'm telling everybody who listens to me, man, I done figured a lot of this out. I figured out a lot of what it is that I'm looking at. I don't fully understand these folks. I really don't. From a spiritual perspective, I think a lot of this makes more sense than from a worldly perspective. When you look at a lot of this through a spiritual lens, as we've talked about ad nauseum, it makes a lot more sense than when you try to look at it as a human being who believes people are after opportunities to get money and power and land. That doesn't make as much sense as they serve the devil's a loser, and he's always going to create opportunities for himself and the people who work for him to lose. That makes a lot more sense when considering their behavior than anything else that I've tried to rationalize in regards to this. Whatever implementation of logic that I try to apply to what they do, none adds up more so than they work for the devil and the devil's a loser. That's what works. That's what makes sense. More than anything. And he's constantly underestimating his opponent. Constantly. You don't know how not to. Well, I tell all of y'all this, man. You think for yourselves, man. Don't believe what you see in them damn comment sections. You're going to find more people in solidarity with you for your plight and your concern, and you're going to find people who are indifferent to your pain and that of the pain of those you care for. You're going to find more people who understand what it feels like to feel helpless in whatever walk of life they're in, that will at the very least stand down while you got to go against whatever it is you're going against. They ain't going to create trouble for you like these people want you to think the world is going to create trouble for you. They want to create trouble with you, for you. If you remove them from the equation, you're not going to find much trouble. And that's what the world is going to find out. And of course, that sounds like some type of ridiculous conspiracy theory or something that doesn't hold great merit. And that, my friends, is what they can stand behind, is the idea that everybody blames them for everything. It's so unrealistic that you blame us for everything. You must sound crazy blaming us for everything. Look how irrational you sound. That's insane. How is that even possible? Until you dig behind everything and you realize everything costs money to do. And when you consider who controls the money at the highest points of where you find money, you find those individuals, then you understand that they do have the reach to touch almost, if not everything. And that they are behind all of this. I was watching this individual, I forgot what his name is, but he's based out of LA, bald-headed black dude. And he was breaking down so many different things that I didn't know nothing about, man, language stuff. Almost like watching Hebrews to Negroes all over again, where he was breaking down the comparisons of language, trace you back to different times, and kind of see who's knew one another, who has similar history and all of this different stuff like that. He was breaking down a good portion of that stuff. I listened to this guy for hours. Now, one of the things that he said that blew my mind was that he traced back the origin of the Bloods and Crips to Zionist Jews. he traced it back. He told us that the hints to a lot of this stuff is in the language. It's in the language. If you understand the origin of words, and that these people for thousands of years have used language as a means of reversing what would otherwise be positive into negatives, and negatives into positives with language, how they utilize the way we view our atlas/map. All of that stuff is meant to have you looking at things backwards. A lot of the words that we use that are meant to be positive are really origin of words that were actually curses, which is consistent to how they utilize the Palestinian culture today. How they tend to take those words that a lot of them mean for good things and say that those words are curses. It's like, that's consistent behavior. They've been doing that for generations. That's not new. I've seen some of that in my own little studies. So when he said that, I'm like, yeah, that's consistent with these folks. They do that. So they've been doing that with a lot of stuff. And as it pertains to Bloods and Crips, the word Crip does trace back to crypt, as in the ground. Like it does originate from that particular word, as I thought it did when I used to hear it when I was a kid. I was like, Bloods is in the blood in the body, Crip as in the crypt that you're placed in the ground, that you've been buried. And I came to understand over time that no, that's not the same thing. There was no correlation between the word crypt and crypt until he brought it up in what it is that I watched. Like, yo, that is exactly what it is. You know, a lot of the stuff that traces back, a lot of these gangs, a lot of the civil unrest amongst our people, black people specifically, in places like Chicago and Los Angeles, where you've seen some of the worst black-on-black crime, a lot of that stuff was strummed up by these people with what it is they controlled, and with some of those different spies and different people they use on the street to enforce the law. They were using them to enforce these intentions upon these people. Why? Because they wanted to destroy people. Just like they're trying to destroy people now. People of color, people that matter to the Lord in whatever way. They're destroying us. And look, this replacement theory thing that a lot of people are concerned about in the white and Aryan race, what I've come to learn about that theory is that it's a lie. That's propaganda placed upon you so that you will go along with the eradication of people that don't look like you. It's not actually something that those who are in control of things actually believe. They don't believe that. They want you to believe that. They don't actually believe that. They feel like if they actually push that upon you and you buy it, you will be down with the eradication of others. But at no point in time do they actually believe that you're at risk for being wiped out. They don't believe that. That's propaganda, man. That's a manipulation tactic. Just like many of their tactics are used to have you align with them. A lot of people are going to believe that if you can't beat them, join them. That's what I think they're hoping we will do, is that we will lose our souls somehow in the process of being discouraged by all of what it is that they control, telling us that for which we have a heart for is useless, and that whatever suffering we see is going to continue to not only last forever but go unpunished. That we will ultimately just join them and say, you know what, this is the only solution, the only logical way for us to live is to just join the empire against everybody else. Join those and fall in line, accept that we're supposed to worship them, and do what they say. It's how we give ourselves the best opportunity of survival. A lot of people subscribe to that now, hence why they have so many people that don't look like them supporting. That's why they have so many Officer Tatums out there. It's because there are a lot of people out there who have bought that. Like, if you can't beat them, you had better join them. If you don't have any chance in not being tortured by these people, you had better join the army against others. And if everybody agrees, nobody suffers. But those that they choose to suffer, which are likely people who don't agree. That's what they subscribe to. They are hopeless and godless in nature. And most importantly, self-serving and cowardice in nature. And because of all of those things coming together, they join the devil's army against the people of God. Consciously, for fear of what will happen to them if they don't. And why do they fear these things? Because they bought the manufactured environment of hopelessness. Manufactured environment. The shit ain't real. It's only real if everybody joins it and makes it as powerful as it needs to be. Otherwise, it's not as powerful as it needs to be. It needs Officer Tatums and people like that to join it so that it can be as powerful as it needs to be to do the things it wants to do. If it don't have support of people that don't look like it, it's alone in the world with nothing but its own strength to fight. It's not going to implement the domination that it demands. They need your compliance. They need you to buy the environment, being as hopeless as they want you to believe it is. They want you to think that you have no right to hold them accountable, that they are different than you in this regard. They can do whatever they want. You have no rights outside of what it is that they feel is right for you. You will do what they say, when they say it, how they say it. Otherwise, you will suffer consequences greater than that from which they can actually place upon you. They can choose those people over there, them Palestinians, and do all types of evil stuff to them as a means of showing you what it looks like. It's called a demonstration. This is what it looks like when you buck us. No, this is what it looks like when you choose people you can bully and proceed to bully them and hope that the rest of us will believe that you can do all of that to all of us at once, which is what's going to be required if we come together. You're going to have to prove, the minority of us all, that you can do that for what you're doing to them to everybody at once. They can't do that. They need you to believe that they can. But when held to the same pressure they placed upon others, they would fold quicker. That's what the Andrew guy showed us as a representation of them. When the pressure that he was sent to apply on Candace was applied to him, he folded faster than what was expected of Candace for the pressure applied to her by him. And he is a metaphor for that entire movement. All of this stuff that they do to others is exactly what will work against them. All the psychological operations, all the implementation and demonstrations of terror and violence, the use of harsh language, all the different things that they do to others is exactly what would work on them. And they need us, all of us, not to know that, not to have the stomach for it, and not to be willing or believe that it's possible to do so. That's exactly what they need. They need us to be trained so well as to think that it makes no sense for us to engage in a behavior that would be effective in saving us all from their bullshit. And I hate to tell them this, but I'm not the only person thinking this right now. I hate to break it to them, but we're all starting to get a whiff of that. It's taking some longer than others, but I think that's kind of what the consensus thought is going to be. That you are only as powerful as we believe you are. Once we believe you are not as powerful, then it's just you, your leverage, your tactics, and the weakness of the few who are amongst us who will still buy into all of it. Otherwise, you're going up against a brick wall with a soft ass. Zionism, that's the truth. A truth that you run from, a truth that you really, really need no one to believe. You really, really need us not to believe that. And I sit up here and I say, well, I saw this politician a few days ago. Randomly, he was sitting up here saying to all of us who were listening to him that the Palestinian people only deserve the right to defend themselves, only have the right to defend themselves if they are considered a state. If Palestine is considered a state, then they have the international right, so to speak, to defend themselves. And it's that subscription to rights that ultimately we need to buy into in order for that to even hold any merit whatsoever. Truth of the matter is, my right is whatever the hell I have the ability to defend. Zionism showing me that right now. They have the right to steal land. They have the right to do weird things to children. They have the right to control our media outlets, propagandize a lot of us, stir people up against one another for the means of having people destroy one another. They got the right to do all that shit. Do you know why they have the right? Because they harbor the leverage of violence and will utilize it to protect that right. It's all they got. You can sit up here and scream at me about all your rights and all of that all day long, but if you don't have the means to defend those rights, then they're not right at all. You don't have them. And so what I'm saying is a redundancy in regards to what that politician was saying, because he was saying they only have the right to defend themselves if they claim statehood. But the only thing that's going to defend any of their rights is their leverage in violence and their ability to sway the environment to yield to said right. And so what I'm saying to all of you is, they're going to always try to convince us not to use our leverage. They're going to always try to convince us that we don't have a right to do something. But the only thing that's going to implement their intention against that right is the violence that they're willing to use against all of us. And their ability to convince all of us without violence that this should be aligned with. Israel has a right to defend itself. Okay, I say they don't. But you're going to use violence against me as a means of defending that right. That's what gives you the ability to uphold your strength in declaration of said right. And they're going to always try to use various different psychological intentions and operations as a means of convincing all of us that the leverage we have, we should not be willing to use. However we formulate that discipline in our heads is just our business. It's what it is. If you come to terms that you're a bad guy, if you hurt them or you hurt anybody, you're a bad guy, that's all they need. They need you to believe that you should hate yourself for using the same leverage that they lean upon, that they rely upon to enforce all of their rights and lefts and anything else they want to use. And you should hate yourself for doing it. You're a villain. You're a bad guy. How awful are you? How awful are you to use violence against me as I use violence against you? You're terrible. You only have a right to do that if you follow these guidelines. This is what you need in order for you to have the right to engage in the violence that I engage in. I have that right because I have these made up things. I got this paper that I signed over here. I got this law over here. I got those people that I use to ultimately create the environment for which this is agreed upon. And all of that you're supposed to look at and say, that's what is. That's what is. You got those lawyers saying this is what it is. You got those judges saying this is what it is. You got this rhetoric saying this is what it is. You got these examples of the singled out people that we've been able to implement an example upon, showing you what it is, even though they can't do it to everybody. That's not what you need to be worried about. We need you to worry about you having it done to you. Not the idea that we would need to use it against everybody if you were to come together. Not the point. The point is, look at all of this evidence. This is agreed upon. You'll be shunned if you go against it. This is agreed upon religiously. You are a bad guy if you go against it. These are the consequences that come to everybody if they do that, even though we don't have the means of pushing forth those consequences on everybody. We're above you because all of this you agree to, and you see it and you understand it to be the truth, and there's nothing between us and you in regards to everything that we've shown. Look at this. And then people understand. Then the people understand this is where God comes in. This is why the living God is not shown. This is why he's not seen. Because you would need this as a leverage or understanding to say there is something that they can't see that brings about a certain true north in regards to the psychological operations, the created environments, the created agreed upon psychological environment specifically. There's a that to all of this. And in it is your understanding around it. As the Lord told me many times in my life, keep your eyes on me and I'll see you through the fog. And this is an understanding that is where that applies. And through the presence of all of this stuff that I just described comes an understanding that there's a greater leverage and a greater strength within me than that for which is in the world. So when the world does all of this and tries to make me convinced of all of that, it is he who's bigger than all of them that reminds me of how small they are and how much true leverage and how much true righteousness I have for attaching myself to them versus all of what it is that I see that they control, that's making me believe they're stronger than they are, that I don't have a right to defend myself, that I don't have a right to hold them accountable, that I don't have a right to do this, that, and the third, and nor do I have the strength to protect that right, even though I literally have more numbers on my side than they have on theirs. 9,000 billionaire families. That's what I was quoted last night in what I watched. 9,000. Do you know how many millions of people walk this earth? And it's only 9,000 billionaires, and they're trying to create the environment for which we're supposed to believe that they can do to us anything they want to do. They don't even have enough to take out a third of us. If they mobilize all of their people, weaponize all of their people and all their leverage and violence, they couldn't kill half of us. We have to believe they're stronger in order for them to be that. We have to buy it. We got to buy the psyop. You got to accept that within your strength that you have no strength. You got to believe their words over your eyes in order for what their plans are to even take place. You got to hate your own people. You got to turn. You got to weaponize yourself against this person and that person's pain, showing indifference to everybody else so that you be fighting each other and not them 9,000 families there. Not them. You hate me. You hate them. You hate them. You hate them. You hate everybody but them who are doing everything to everybody. And I'm telling you, that environment, that psychological in that environment of psychological operations, what helps you see through all of that is the presence of a literal understanding that something's greater than that. Even if you can't see all the angles, something's bigger than that. And it can hold all of us accountable for all of the things that we do. So up is still up, down is still down, left is still left, right is still right. No matter how many different things they try to flip on this axis to make you see it differently than what it actually is, and have you living in some type of fantasy land that fits into all of their different equations, you still know who created you, from which all your blessings come, who's going to win in the end, why they can't seem to cover their backside despite having all of these different things working in their favor. He did not design them to be winners in this process. That's the point. They're not designed to win. That's why they keep stepping on their own feet. That's why they're so poor at convincing all of us to buy their stuff, even though they got so much of the game rigged in their favor. This is why we're even having this conversation, is because he does exist. That's the point. And it's one we need not forget. Video 44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.